All right, so you want to own a billboard. Here is the fantasy, and it is a good one. You put up a single steel pole on a patch of ground the size of a parking space. You bolt a rectangle to the top of it, and then you charge companies money simply to be seen. You do not make a product. You do not hire a sales floor. You do not even own most of what makes it valuable. You just own a view, a slice of the sky that thousands of drivers are forced to look at every single day, whether they want to or not. And every business in town that wants those eyeballs has to come to you and pay. It is one of the only assets on Earth where the physical footprint is almost nothing, and the revenue can be enormous. A parking space worth of dirt, throwing off the kind of money a whole store would envy. When people first hear the numbers, the reaction is almost always the same. Wait, that is it. That is the whole business. But behind that absurd land-to-revenue ratio is something most people never realize. And it is the real reason billboards are so valuable. It is not the steel. It is not even the location. It is something you are no longer allowed to create. Let me show you. So what does it take to get in? And here is where the illusion breaks in a useful way. You might think the asset is the sign itself. It is not. A billboard structure is just steel and bolts, and you could weld one together for a modest sum. The digital ones cost a lot more, but even those are not really the point. The thing that actually has value, the thing worth a fortune, is the permission to have a billboard standing there at all. In the United States, building new billboards along most major highways was heavily restricted decades ago. Federal and state laws, along with countless local ordinances, sharply limited where new signs can go, and in many places, banned new construction outright. That means the billboards standing today are, in a great many locations, grandfathered in. They are allowed to exist only because they already existed when the rules changed. You often cannot build a new one next to them, no matter how much money you wave around. So every legal, permitted billboard in a good location is a little pocket of scarcity that the government has made almost impossible to reproduce. You are not really buying steel. You are buying a permit that can never be issued again. Then there is the land, and here is the second twist. In most cases, you do not even own it. You lease a small patch from whoever owns the ground, a farmer, a shop, a landowner along the highway, and you pay them a monthly or yearly ground rent. That rent might be a flat few hundred or a couple of $1,000s, or it might be set as a percentage of what the sign earns, commonly somewhere around 15 to 20% of the revenue the board pulls in. The landowner is often thrilled, because it is money for a corner of land they were doing nothing with. And you are thrilled, because that percentage is the only meaningful slice of the revenue you have to give away. That ground lease is, as we will see, basically your only major recurring cost. So picture what you actually control. Not the land, which you rent, not the view, which belongs to everyone, just a scarce, legally protected right to occupy a rectangle of other people's attention, mounted over dirt you do not own. The whole business is built on permission and position, not on property. And once you understand that, the strange economics start to make perfect sense. Now the part that makes people lean in. How a billboard actually makes money, and why that footprint the size of a parking space can out-earn businesses 100 times larger. Start with the base, the static face. A traditional billboard has one or sometimes two faces, one pointing each direction of traffic, and you lease each face to an advertiser for a fixed monthly rate. What that rate is depends almost entirely on how many eyeballs drive past. A modest board on a quiet road might rent for a few $100s a month. A typical highway board commonly runs anywhere from around $1,000 to a few $1,000s a month per face. A premium board in a major metro can command $8,000, $20,000, and up. And at the very top, a single sign in a place like Times Square can rent for more than $1 million a month. Same steel, same rectangle. The only thing that changes is how many people are forced to look at it. Now the move that transformed the entire industry. Going digital. When you replace that static vinyl face with a giant LED screen, something remarkable happens to the math. Instead of selling the face to one advertiser for the whole month, you now rotate multiple advertisers on the same screen, each one appearing for a slot of a few seconds in a loop that repeats around the clock. Commonly, 6 to 8 different advertisers share a single digital face, each paying their own monthly rate for their share of the rotation. Think about what that does. One physical structure, one patch of ground, one ground lease, and now 6 or 8 rent checks coming in against it instead of one. The digital face costs much more to build, and it draws electricity. But once it is up, you have multiplied the revenue of that single spot without adding a single extra inch of land. That is why the whole industry has been racing to convert its best static boards to digital. And here is the layer that makes all of it so profitable. The cost structure barely moves. Think about what a billboard actually costs to operate once it stands. There is the ground lease, which is your single biggest recurring expense and is often a modest monthly rent or a percentage of what the sign earns. For a static board, there is the occasional vinyl print, a few $100s, whenever the ad changes. For a digital board, there is electricity and some maintenance. And that is very nearly the whole list. There is no inventory. There is no staff standing at the sign. There are no customers walking through it, wearing it out. When a highway board rents for a couple of $1,000s a month, and the ground lease beneath it is a few hundred, an enormous slice of that rent is pure profit. Layer the digital rotation on top, 6 or 8 advertisers against that same small ground lease, and the economics become almost comical. You have a tiny footprint, one recurring bill, and a rectangle of steel printing money for as long as the cars keep coming. Run the arithmetic on a single digital board to feel the full weight of it. Picture a good highway location where each rotation slot rents for around $2,000 a month, and you have 8 advertisers sharing the screen. That is $16,000 a month coming off one structure, close to $200,000 a year. Now set that against the costs. A ground lease of maybe $1,000 or $2,000 a month. An electricity bill, a little upkeep. Even after you account for the higher price of building the digital screen in the first place, the yearly profit from that one pole can dwarf the entire revenue of many small storefronts, and it arrives with almost no labor and no inventory attached. One single structure, one small leased patch of dirt, and the income of an entire business. Put it all together, and a single well-placed structure looks less like a piece of real estate and more like a toll booth. The traffic is going past anyway. You simply built the one legal gate that lets you charge for the glance. To see how far this scales, look at one of the giants of the American roadside, Lamar Advertising. It has been in the outdoor business since 1902. It is publicly traded, and it is structured as a real estate investment trust, which is telling in itself because Lamar is treated by the tax code essentially as a landlord, except its land is the edge of the highway, and its buildings are signs. Today, Lamar operates an astonishing number of displays. More than 359,000 of them across the United States and Canada. Everything from giant highway bulletins to smaller logo signs and transit ads. Now, the revenue, and this is where the land-to-revenue ratio stops being a slogan and becomes a number. In its most recent full year, Lamar reported net revenues of around $2.2 billion. $2.2 billion, generated not from factories or office towers or vast tracts of land, but from rectangles mounted on poles, most of them sitting on small leased patches of ground the company does not even own. The total physical footprint of Lamar's actual structures, if you added up the dirt directly under them, would be a rounding error next to any other company its size. That is the absurdity in its purest form. Billions of dollars in revenue standing on almost no land. Run a rough average, and the picture sharpens. Spread that $2.2 billion across the hundreds of thousands of displays, and you get a modest average per sign. But that average is deeply misleading, because it blends tiny logo signs and small posters with the crown jewels. The real money is concentrated in the large highway bulletins and the digital boards, where a single premium digital structure in a busy market can generate tens of thousands of dollars a month all by itself, several $100,000 a year, from one pole on one leased patch of dirt. A handful of those trophy locations can out-earn thousands of the little ones. In outdoor advertising, as in so much of real estate, it is location and format that separate a quiet asset from a spectacular one, and the margins tell the same story. In a typical year, a large chunk of Lamar's revenue converts straight into gross profit because the cost of running a standing billboard is so low. Its adjusted operating cash flow, quarter after quarter, runs into the hundreds of millions of dollars. This is not a scrappy, low-margin business. It is one of the most efficient revenue per asset machines in the entire advertising world, precisely because the asset is so small and the permission behind it is so scarce. How does Lamar keep growing when you cannot simply build new billboards wherever you like? 2 ways, and they map exactly onto everything we just covered. First, It buys. For decades, Lamar has acquired smaller, independent billboard operators, rolling up their grandfathered, permitted, irreplaceable locations into one giant portfolio. Every acquisition is really a purchase of permissions that can never be reissued. Second, it converts. Lamar runs the largest network of digital billboards in the country, thousands of digital faces, and it pours money every year into turning its best static boards into digital ones, each conversion multiplying the revenue of a spot it already controls. The company spends well over $100 million a year in capital, a large share of it aimed squarely at digital, precisely because turning one advertiser into 8 on the same structure is the highest return move it can make. And the scarcity only compounds with time. Every year, more communities pass ordinances restricting or banning new signs. And every year, the billboards that are already standing become a little more irreplaceable. An ordinary business gets more vulnerable to competition as its market matures. A billboard portfolio often gets safer because the supply of legal locations is essentially frozen while the demand for attention keeps climbing. That is the quiet reason investors treat a well-located billboard almost like a piece of scarce downtown land. They are not betting on the steal. They are betting that no one will ever be allowed to build the competitor next door. Here's the gut punch buried in those billions. Lamar's most valuable possessions are not the steel structures, which are worth relatively little and could be rebuilt in a week. They are the permits and the positions, the legal right to stand in exactly that spot beside exactly that flow of traffic, rights that in most places the law will never grant to anyone again. Lamar is not really in the business of owning signs. It is in the business of owning permission to be seen, in a country that mostly stopped handing out that permission decades ago. The sign is just the part you can see. The moat is the part you cannot. Now the forces reshaping the business. The first and biggest is the digital transformation, and it goes further than just brighter screens. Increasingly, digital billboard space is sold programmatically, bought and sold automatically through software, the same way online ads are, so that an advertiser can buy a few seconds on a screen for a specific hour of a specific day, target it by weather or traffic or time of day, and change the creative instantly from a laptop. That turns a static, once-a-month rental into something closer to a live, auction-driven marketplace for attention. It is still a small slice of the industry today, but it is growing fast, and it points at a future where a billboard is priced and sold as flexibly as a banner ad online, while keeping the one thing online ads cannot offer: a giant screen no one can scroll past or block. The second force is the regulatory battle, which cuts both ways. Scenic and community groups fight hard against new billboards, and especially against bright digital conversions, arguing they are distracting and ugly, and some places restrict or ban them. For the public, that is a fight about aesthetics and safety. For an incumbent owner, ironically, every new restriction is a gift because it freezes the supply even harder and makes the boards that already exist even more valuable. The industry lives in a strange equilibrium, quietly protected by the very regulations it keeps fighting. The third force is simple demand. Attention is fragmenting across 1,000 screens. Ad blockers strip out digital ads, and streaming services have no commercials to sell. And in that world, a billboard is one of the few messages left that a person genuinely cannot skip. That scarcity of unavoidable attention is quietly making the humble roadside sign more valuable, not less. So what does owning one actually feel like, year to year? Start with the good version. You own a digital billboard on a busy highway in a growing city, in a market where new signs are effectively banned. 6 or 8 advertisers rotate on your screen at any given time, each paying a healthy monthly rate, and demand for those slots is strong enough that you can raise prices as contracts renew. Your ground lease is a fixed, modest cost. Your electricity bill is small. There is no inventory, almost no staff, and nothing to wear out. Nearly every dollar that comes in after that ground rent is profit. And because your permit can never be reissued to a rival, no competitor can undercut you by building next door. You own a tiny, protected, cash-generating monopoly on one slice of the road. Now the hard version. Billboard revenue is advertising revenue, and advertising is one of the first things companies cut when the economy turns. In a downturn, advertisers pause campaigns, your rotation has empty slots, and rates soften, while your ground lease and your loan payments do not care what the economy is doing. A board can also be quietly killed by things entirely outside your control. A highway gets rerouted and your traffic evaporates. A new overpass or a row of trees grows up and blocks your sightline. A locality changes its rules and refuses to renew your permit or forbids the digital upgrade you were counting on. And because so much of the value lives in the permit and the position, a single bad ruling or one rerouted road can turn a trophy asset into a pole holding up nothing. The gap between those 2 years is not about the steal, which is the same in a boom or a bust. It is about the strength of the local economy, the health of the advertising market, and above all, the security of your permits and your sightlines. A billboard is a wonderful business, precisely as long as the cars keep coming and the law keeps saying no to everyone else. So here is what you are really buying when you buy a billboard. Not a patch of land, because you probably lease that. Not a rectangle of steel, because that is the cheapest part of the whole equation. You are buying a toll booth on human attention, a legally protected right to stand in the one spot where a river of people has to look at you, in a country that mostly decided long ago to stop building any more of them. The genius of the business is not the sign. It is the scarcity behind it. Everyone can see your billboard, and almost no one is allowed to put up another. The next time you are stuck in traffic and your eyes drift up to some glowing rectangle selling you a burger, remember what you are actually looking at, not an advertisement. A parking space worth of dirt, quietly charging admission to your own attention.